So I've been doing email marketing for many years, and I think that one of the biggest tips that I'd give anyone starting email marketing is just simply setting objectives and targets and metrics for every email that you send. So, it's really surprising to me even now how many people and how many companies don't do this. But, you know, even if they've got a really good email marketing list with lots of engagement and are getting pretty good results, um, more often than not, they'll just send emails without having any clear objectives. So, for example, they're not clear before they hit send on the email what they want their open rate to be, what they want their click-through rate to be. If it's e-commerce, how much revenue specifically they want to have had attributed to the email after 7 days, for example. Having a clear figure, is it £5,000, £10,000, £50,000? What would be a good result? Now, their email marketing is often working. They're sending an email, maybe after 7 days, they've made £10,000, £15,000, whatever. But the point is, that may be good, it may be average, it may be below par, depending on what they've achieved before and what they're selling. So unless you've specifically said before you send the email, this is the revenue that this email should achieve. If it doesn't achieve that, then this email hasn't performed as well as it could have done and should have done. If you don't do that, then you're not really challenging yourself and pushing yourself. And so, that would be my first bit of advice for anybody doing email marketing, if they're new to it or if they've done it for a long time, is when you're going to send an email, actually sit there and think, why am I sending this email and what do I want this email to achieve specifically? What's the point of sending it? And what's a good result? So be clear on, for every email, the open rate that it should achieve, the click-through rate, where should people click through to? If it's a landing page, use something like Google Analytics. If you're on Shopify, WordPress, WooCommerce, whatever, use any built-in analytics you have. You should be clear, write it down on a piece of paper, on an A4, what the average time on that page should be. What do you want people to do when they get to that page? You should have a clear call to action. You want people to fill in a form, click a button, whatever. How many people, what percentage of the people that click the email and go through to that page should complete that call to action? A specific percentage. If you don't hit that percentage, then something is wrong. Something is not performing as it should perform. I would almost give this as my first tip, my number one tip. And in a sense, you don't really need that many tips. Apart from this, if you just want to get your email marketing working, just literally knowing and being clear before you send an email on what's a good result and what is not a good result, and then you send the email, and then when the time is right, a few days afterwards, you have a look at the metrics, what you wanted to achieve, what you should have achieved, and push yourself. And if it hasn't hit those metrics, then the email hasn't been good enough. So you just try again, rinse, repeat. And that you're doing email marketing right when you know what is a challenging target and you kind of smash it out the park. When your click-through rate, your revenue, the number of people that complete your call to action is way, way higher than it's ever been before, and higher than you expected, that you've kind of struck gold and landed on something really, really good. So, as a starting bit of advice that I give everybody for email marketing, that is where I start. Are you sending, do you have like really, really clear metrics every time you send an email? 99.9% of the time, the answer straight away is, well, no. We just kind of send it. We kind of have a good idea what's good, what's not good. But we don't actually, sit down and think about clear metrics. And that's the bit of advice straight away that I think is kind of game changing for email marketing. Is like, we'll do that and make it challenging. So, how you'll find this works in practice, it just has such an incredible effect, as well as obviously being better just simply because you're kind of setting goals and it's more measurable. It also pushes you. So, if I'm talking to somebody, I'm helping them with email marketing, if their average click-through rate is say 6%, and they say, look, I'll be happy with sort of 6.5%, 7% with this one, I will say to them, well, hang on a second, what can we do with this email to get the click-through rate up to 8%, 9%, 12% even? What can we do? And it forces you to be creative. It forces you to think a little bit differently. It forces you to push yourself. And it also identifies when you're not spending enough time working, with other people in your team to actually create emails that are actually really good. Anybody can kind of spend an hour or two coming up with an average email, just hitting send, getting some decent results or average results, and saying, okay, that's done, that's my job done. Anybody can do that. Advanced email marketing is saying to yourself, okay, our average click-through rate for emails historically is 7%. How can I send an email that doubles that to 14%? And you really have to think, you have to get creative, you have to do things differently. And that's what you should be doing. You should be pushing yourself, challenging yourself, and obviously make the objectives realistic. But that's kind of it for this video. That is my number one tip, and by far the most important all-round tip, which shapes everything for email marketing, is set clear objectives every time you send an email and challenge yourself to hit them, and it will transform your email marketing. Take it from me.